Kikao kinafuata ni Division 2 Administration Police akiongozwa na Inspector Bashir Adan.
It's 1st of June and Madaraka Day celebrations are underway.
Kikiongozwa na Corporal Dabaso.
It's just a week after the deadly attack on Mandera Governor Ali Roberts' convoy. The brutal attack claimed the lives of 5 police officers after their car ran over a landmine between the volatile Arabia and Fino area. Our arrival in Mandera coincided with the celebrations whose theme was almost predictable. The rampant cases of attacks that has now labelled Mandera as the most dangerous place in Kenya.
Al-Shabaab want you to believe that they are attacking only security officers while they are destroying the fabric of society in our region. It is extremely critical for the public to get to understand. We cannot allow terror cells to roam freely.
Mujitokeze kikamilifu kulinda nchi yetu kando na maafisa wetu wa usalama. Sitaki kusikia ya kwamba hao watu wachache 5, 6, 10 ambao wanaingia kwetu kutuwekea mabomu ya vilipuzi pale barabarani wamepewa nafasi hata kuchota maji yetu na kunywa.
Ni kikosi cha KPL kikiongozwa na.
Just like any other national celebration, security officers showcased their prowess as they marched. And here, guns are in plenty. An indication of the number of boots deployed in the troubled county. But of concern is the number of illegal firearms in the hands of the militants. It's hard to tell who is armed and who isn't. For the locals, this is now their way of life as they constantly remain under hawked eyes of the security personnel. Most choosing to draw a veil over the constant threat posed by the militants from Somalia in fear of being targeted. The locals say you need a heart of stone to survive here.
Zamani, Mandera County, we used to have problems with one place. That is used to be that side of PP1 that they used to come and enter. And then when they deploy a GHU, it is closed. And then along this road, Arabia and the Lafe Road is what is now bringing problem. We would like the national government actually to bring more security and to close this border.
Kufa ni bahati yako, ukiwa hai ni bahati hapa. Tumekuwa tu kama huko Somalia. Anasemanga kuna sipso. Imekuwa lakini hakuna mtu anamuonea gavana peke yake. Ni ile shida tuko nazo na ile shida iko hii Mandera hii. Gavana sisi wakati tumepata shida anakuja kulia kwetu na sisi tukipata shida tunaenda kulia kwake. We have the same thing. We have the same problem.
Sababu hata wenye kwa nyumbani hawajui jina kama Mandera. Sasa ila labda ndio wanaanza pata hiyo habari. Hawajui, wengi hawajui. Mimi naambia mimi niko tu Nairobi. Sikukuja hata nyumbani, mimi naambia nitakuja tu lakini kazi imenishika. Muhindi mwenye anafanyia amenikaza kabisa. Sasa muhindi gani? Hakuna muhindi. Ni hali mali niko na hali niko inabidi nijiite niko kwa muhindi. Ili nikiata nikienda nyumbani nionekane bado niko hai.
In a town that has for years become a soft underbelly for terrorists, life can be short and brutal. No one knows that more than the quarry workers. It's a reality that they have to bear. Leboy Quarry is located close to the Kenyan-Ethiopian border and to Somalia on the east. These workers are practically working under the shadows of death and on the fault lines of terror.
With no physical security in place and the huge task of mining awaiting them, most laborers here have literally been left between a rock and a hard place because as they continue working, they also have to think about their personal security. Armed with nothing but their tools of operation, most miners here have decided that whenever danger knocks its door, then they'll run towards the north. That is where the Kenya-Ethiopia border is, and not the east, because that is where Somalia is located.
Sasa huwezi rudi nyuma, unafaa uende mbele. Na karibu na sisi mali tuko iko mto. Unaingia kwa mto alafu unavuka hiyo ngambo nyingine. Kama unajua kuogelea ni sawa, kama hujui kuogelea basi maji inabidi kuremea. Alafu uende na maji. Na afadhali maji kuremea uende kuliko upigwe risasi.
It's very hot in the day. It's dusty. The almost blinding sun and the sharp quarry stones are just but ingredients of the hardship here. The task ahead is enormous for the quarry workers. They spend all day here digging, carving and pounding rocks. At the same time, exposing their lives to the ugly hands of the militants during each working moment. 29-year-old Nicholas Moresa is from Western Kenya. Boniface Mureithi and the youngest of them all, 25-year-old Samson Degwa, are both from Kiganjo in Nyeri.
Security bila iko anashindwa. Sababu ikifika saa moja ukipatikana nje hapa na Mandera huwezi survive. Utashikwa aiza. Ni heri hata ushikwe kuliko kupatana mambo mengine, heri ushikwe uweke kwa seli.
Tuwezi sema kuna mtu anaweza tulida. Vigana vile tuko. Nataka mkuja hapa hata mimi nataka kuuliza. Kuna mwanapolisi umeona area hii? Kuna mwanapolisi ama ulinzi wote umepatana nao. Tunaweza sema na tuko Kenya. Tukiwa huko msituni. Ukiangalia vizuri, si hata wewe unaona tukibomokea tunaweza potelea wapi.
In the last 3 years alone, more than 50 quarry workers have lost their lives here, most of them killed under the shadow of darkness. Nicholas says some were his close friends. He was only lucky to have been in a different location during the attack.
Ikiwa najata Korome kuwa watu, ni kitu ilistua wengi. Tulikuwa tunaamini mandugu wenye tunajuana, wale tunaitana majina walipotelea hapa. Kama sisi tulikuwa na vyama, pesa yetu iliendea tu hapo, sababu tulikuwa nategemea, tulikuwa nashirikiana kitu kubwa kabisa. Lakini tuliambia Mungu ni hiyo tu.
In their pursuit of trying to earn a living, the workers say they still can't enjoy the fruit of their labor in peace, as they're now walking targets and they have to constantly watch their back.
Sisi tunaanza kulala kitu nikilala kutoka saa 2, saa 7 nakuwa macho. Sababu hapo ndio kitu ya Mandera inaanza tendeka. Fika saa 9 hapo tena usingizi unaendelea, sababu ukisema ulale ujue utakimbia wapi kwa usingizi. Sasa unakuwa macho, ikiumana wewe toroka ukijua unaenda mahali fulani. Hata nyumba mimi nakaa ndani. Siwezi kaa kwa nyumba yenye sijabomoa dirisha.
Mungu tu atasaidia. Sababu kama ni usiku mtu halali poa. Ukijua unaweza kufa in time kwa magaidi. Labda serikali tuongezee security.
Nicholas and his colleagues try every means possible to forget the lacking danger and make their working station, which is a perfect target for militants, bearable. Each one of them has a touching personal story to tell.
Ukiniangalia vipi sikai mtu wa mawe, niko tofauti sana. Hata ukinifuata lakini mahali naenda ndio sina. Kwa kwale niko ndio sijakataa, lakini mahali nakanyaga step sina. Step zangu ni zile fupi. Nikipata ile ya kuweka mguu kubwa naweza furahia na Mungu anaweza kuwa ameponya wengi na ameokoa wengi.
Sasa nikikufa, huyo ameajiliwa atalipwa na nini? Wazangu wakikufa kesho, hii vijana wakikufa leo, kesho nchi itabaki na nani? Hii ni kazi gumu. Bado hata ni machine nafaa kufanya, lakini sisi tunajitolea mikono yetu tunafanya. Hata sioni faida tunapata. Si ati nikulipo tunalipwa mawe mzuri. Usiwahi danganywa na mtu kitu kama hiyo. Hakuna.
And as they took time to relax from the back-breaking job and perhaps reflect on their lives, it also became apparent to us that the ugly hands of corruption has not spared them either.
Mamangu alitisha ile 150 apeleke ndugu yangu kazi ya serikali. Nitatoa wapi hizo pesa? Sina. Kwa wiki unaweza fanya kazi hapa, saa nyingine kazi iko bado upate 10,000. 10,000 ukigawa unabaki na shilingi 4,000. 4,000 inaweza fika 150, huwezi fika. Sasa hiyo ndio kitu kujitetea kwa ngumu. Na mamangu kama mzazi wangu ndiye alibaki na yuko kwa boma. Atitoka. Boma iliwachwa hapo. Haina nyumba, iko hapo. Huwezi enda hata useme ati nenda nyumbani. Heri tu kae huku mpaka Mungu ile siku anakufungulia njia useme sasa waje niende nyumbani.
It's been 2 days since we caught up with the quarry workers, and as we continue to baffle on how these young men have risked it all, refusing to be cowed by fear. To them, the fear of biting poverty and the lack of jobs back home supersedes their current adversity. On each passing day, they remain uncertain of their future. They say it's not a matter of if, but when the militants will strike. However, they all remain optimistic that things will change for better and that the bloodthirsty militants will be unmasked and their ill motives crushed. The booming construction business in Mandera is completely driven by the quarry workers. 1 feet of stone goes for 100 shillings here compared to just 10 Kenya shillings in central Kenya. Competition between quarry owners, who are all locals, and the ever-increasing demand for the stones has made the quarry business lucrative. Sources reveal to us that the owners will do anything to outdo each other in the business. Some have compelled the quarry workers to stay by giving them loans. So competitive is this sector, the locals whisper of the underdealings the quarry workers may have with suspected terrorists. And many times, heavy questions linger quietly in Mandera town. Are the quarry workers being targeted because of business rivalry disguised as terror? Are they being used to send a veiled message to certain individuals?
Sababu hata mtu akikufa Mandera sasa hivi utasikia si Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab wanasema sio sisi. Na sisi raia tunalia Al-Shabaab na kia Al-Shabaab wanasema sio sisi. Hao ni vijana yenu tu wako Mandera, lakini wewe kilio huwezi lia vijana. Unalia tu jina Al-Shabaab. Wenyewe wanasema usiharibiwe sisi jina na sisi tunaona ni hao, lakini hao wanaona sio sisi.
The increasing number of unmanned Kenya police reservists in the county has also raised alarm. Back at the quarry, Nicholas and his colleagues prepare to go home. They bury some of their tools of operation, not knowing what tomorrow will hold. What they do know is that if they continue to be left exposed, then the same fate will befall them. It's time for prayers. The curfew in Mandera has been lifted because of the holy month of Ramadan, a month of worship the militants interpret as a month of bloodshed and havoc. The area governor has not been spared either, with threats and actual attacks coming his way. For him, it's been near-death experiences since he assumed office in 2013.
Immediately after elections, my first dilemma started when I was advised by the then county commissioner who was in Mandera that we cannot hold the swearing-in ceremony at the stadium, but we will hold it in an enclosed environment, in a small ceremony, because of fear of terror. And that was a little bit, puzzling for me. It became unacceptable. And immediately I said, whatever that will happen, but public functions will have to happen in public areas.
It's such bold steps to drive the militants out of town that brought the governor under the radar of the militants. But the attacks will not end there. His convoys have been targeted on numerous occasions, a record 7 times. The latest claiming the lives of 5 of his security detail, people he says were very close to him.
And that they have just become part of the fabric of my life. In that last attack, in very unfortunate, setting, my little girl, one of my daughters, came from school and she was advised that uncles so-and-so and so-and-so have been killed by just an unfortunate member of the family. The young girl is affected up to now, you know, in terms of she started vomiting and she couldn't eat. She can't go to school the next day. She's 8 years old. That was the closeness that the children had with these security officers.
The operation to flush out the militants is currently underway, with security forces managing to stop the militants from launching any major attack in urban centers in the recent past. But the increasing cases of landmine attacks is now what security agencies are grappling with amid the deteriorating security situation in the north. Kenya shares a porous border with Somalia, and the ambitious plan to construct a wall between Kenya and the Horn of Africa nation has seen the government switch from the wall project to wire fencing surrounded by deep trenches.
Well, the idea of constructing a wall between Kenya and Somalia was hatched right after the university attack in Garissa. And the wall is meant to stop the infiltration of Al-Shabaab fighters and their sympathizers from getting into Kenya from Somalia.
The fencing, which has now just covered 10 kilometers out of the required 700 plus kilometers stretching all the way from Mandera to Kiunga in Lamu, still has a long way to go. In the meantime, border patrols conducted by both Kenya's security officers and those from Somalia are expected to slow down the operations of the militants and the infiltration of weapons into Kenya. And during this political season, coupled with the simmering inter-clan wars, security situation in Mandera remains delicate, with the locals, the quarry workers, as well as the authorities forced to bear a heart of stone in order to face the enemy within. Yusuf Ibrahim, KTN News.